Welcome back to 180 with Tay. It is February, so finally I am able to drink if I want. And for January, I only messed up like twice. And considering I drink like 20 times a month normally, I think 2 times is really not that bad. So dry January was a success in my book. And some other things that I did notice for a little bit of a recap is that I basically always had energy to work out. So I am a little bit more fit in that sense. Unfortunately, without alcohol, my body like just had to have sugar. I had this like undeniable craving for sugar like every single night. So that did not help. But what I am going to be doing is for February, I'm not going to be smoking any flower. So that will eliminate the munchies, which will be great. And what I'll do is I will post a pre-January, post-February picture or whatever on my social medias, which is Instagram, Facebook, at 180 with Tay, and follow me there to see that. So some other things that I noticed last month. My anxiety levels were like non-existent. So I never had any anxiety other than when I had COVID, but we're not going to talk about that. And like the way that I got everything done all the time was absolutely astonishing. Like I got my piano out like I said I would. And I did learn, like I relearned all the old things that I learned. I did spend some time on music theory. But the one thing that's really disappointing when it comes to piano is that there's just something that doesn't stick for me. And it's always disappointing once I like get my piano out and start trying and it just doesn't click, which is always a little bit depressing. But anyways, I have a few big things that I want to talk about this episode. One is the concept of time, and 2 is the different levels of alcoholism. And I will get into the reasons that I want to talk about that because I think it's important to know first, but I'll get into that when we get there. So let's get into it. First things first, time is just a concept. We can do anything we need to on our own time, at our own pace. We're allowed to do that, right? I understand that there are timelines that, this is right, that's right. But everyone can do anything on their own time. Like, I understand that getting a career once you graduate college, having kids, getting married, or opposite order, whatever, it doesn't matter. We should be able to do whatever we want, whenever we want, without feeling bad about it. Like, massive shout out to everyone that did get it done. Honestly, that's so fucking cool. But for me, unfortunately, I missed some marks. And here we are. So that's okay. Like, I should be able to clean up my act on my own time, right? Like, I don't want to dread this process of being better. I haven't ruined my life to the point where I should never be able to drink and smoke again. So the fact that I'm working on myself to figure that out and like learning to control my drinking habits, I should be able to enjoy the process. I hope any of this makes any sense. All I'm trying to say is we shouldn't feel bad about working on ourselves. Like, no matter what stage in life we're at, it shouldn't matter. We should be able to be better on our own time, and it's our own timeline. And like, that's why I'm here. And that's like, it's our own timeline. Let's make it our own. We're doing our best. So let's get even more into it. Where did these drinking habits start? Like, what were the original influences? And what was something that our parents told us, our parents or guardians, that they said that we should have listened to? What was so intriguing about the lifestyle anyways? So for me, it all started well before high school, and I'm pretty sure that everything was introduced to me by my friends' older siblings. And since I'm an only child, I'm pretty sure that my exposure to like weed and alcohol and whatever in the very beginning was due to public school. I'm an only child, so the only way that older siblings influenced my life was from my friends. And I have no hate on public school at all. I'm just trying to put two and two together here. So, and my parents, they always told me not to give into peer pressure. But for me, I don't feel like I really ever like gave into peer pressure. Everything I wanted to do, or everything I did, I wanted to do because I wanted to do it. It was never really peer pressure. Like I still feel that same way today. And I know my parents always wanted the best for me, and they always made sure that I, wanted that I could had the opportunity to be my best self. I just wish maybe I would have wanted that as much as they did back then. So anyways, there was always something exciting about the lifestyle to me. And I honestly think it was just the excitement itself. Like I started raving back in 2008 in Phoenix, and there was just something about the people, the vibes, the outfits, the drugs, the parties. Like there was just something about the excitement of it all that made me want to keep going back. And I did. So after a few years of all of that raving and partying and all of those things, I had to move across the country to Ohio. And without all of the drugs and the partying, I resorted to alcohol, and a lot of it. Like I ended up drinking basically all the time, football games, every weekend, whether we were just chilling or partying, like it didn't matter. I was drinking, and a lot too. I remember always being like one of the drunkest, loudest ones in high school. But like, honestly, when I was younger, I just wanted to try all the things. And like I said, I did. So that brings me to the more intense side of things here. And I want to talk about the fact that there's different subtypes of alcoholism. And although many of us may not fall into these categories now and may never have, I think it's really important for us to know what they are, for the mere fact that we know they exist, for one, and two, that we can help try to prevent our future selves from falling into one of these subtypes. And I have attached the article. I have attached the link for the article that I reference here in the show notes. And so there are five subtypes. And the main part that I want to focus on for each of these subtypes is the age at which the alcoholic started drinking and the age at which they became dependent upon alcohol. And then some of the other major key factors that play in here are family history of alcoholism, substance abuse, mental disorders, and also the chances of seeking help. So let's get into it. The first is the young adult subtype. They start around 19 and they're dependent by 24. Next is the functional subtype, like functional alcoholic, and they start around 18 and are dependent by 37. And with this one, we're going to throw in a little bit of depression. So that's really common when it comes to the functional subtype. Next is the intermediate familial subtype, and they start around 17 and are dependent around 32. This subtype is very likely to have other family members with alcoholism, as well as some mental health disorders and high rates of other addictions. Now, another big subtype is the young antisocial subtype, and they start around 15 and are dependent by 18. This subtype has a lot of personal anxiety and mental disorders, unfortunately, with anxiety, personality, but 35% of this group is likely to seek help. So that's a big chunk. Lastly, we have the chronic severe subtype, and it's the smallest group of all the subtypes. They start around 15 and are dependent by 29. The big factor in this one is that 77% have family members who suffer from alcoholism. So those are the 5 subtypes of alcoholism. And like I said, I am bringing this up for the mere fact that it's important for us to know that they exist. What we can do here is know that we have the opportunity to not only reach out to somebody if we know that they may need it, but help ourselves not fall into these subtypes. And as I differentiated between these different levels, I don't know that I ever was fully dependent on alcohol. I'm sure there were weeks where I was, but the only one that I felt that I even remotely fell into was the young antisocial subtype. And from my understanding, it's basically saying that we chose to use alcohol as a social like coping mechanism at a very early age and did not stop until we absolutely needed to, like once we noticed there was a problem. So before I handled my drinking problem, I definitely suffered from substance abuse. And at that time, I was also switching careers, and switching careers at this age, again, I'm 28, was a very hard thing for me to do. And it definitely contributed to a downward spiral. The really fucking awesome thing here is that downward spiral literally has led me to some of the most wonderful things that like I can't even explain really. Like I have come to so much understanding of myself and the opportunities that the world can provide and how grateful I am for my life and for the life that I have, right? And there's a lot of things to be grateful for, and there's tons of room for growth, which is the most exciting part. So also, I am very, very excited for my next episode. I have 2 friends that have been more than kind to contribute here, and they have already conquered being sober this day and age in this drinking society, party culture. They have figured it out. So I have a lot of insight from them, and one of which has literally never drank in her entire life. So we are going to have somebody that has conquered the alcohol. We're going to have somebody that's never even touched it, and you're going to have me. So I'm really excited for that, and I will see you there.